Pokemon Sword and Shield have finally released, and with that we have a lot of brand new Pokemon to play with and a whole new generation with a ton of new items and mechanics for battle. Now with every new generation, however, there's always some Pokemon that aren't quite as good as some of the other new Pokemon. Generation 8 is no exception, so with this first worst Pokemon video of the Generation 8 era, we will take a look at Thievul and discuss if it is the worst new Pokemon in Sword and Shield to use competitively or not. Now before we get too far into this, it's very important to understand that this series focuses on competitive battling in the main series Pokemon games, in this case Sword and Shield, which is very different than battling against NPCs, gym leaders, and of course battles you might see in the anime. If you're newer to competitive battling, I recommend you check out the description so you can get a better understanding about how this works. We will rate Thievul on a scale 1 through 5 based on its offense, defense, versatility, move pool, and overall viability. If Thievul doesn't excel in any of these categories, then it might just be the worst new Pokemon in Sword and Shield. Make sure you guys leave a like down below if you want to support the channel as well, and subscribe with notifications turned on if you haven't already so you don't miss any future Pokemon videos. So taking a closer look at Thievul, it is a mono dark type Pokemon with the abilities Runaway, Unburden, and Stakeout. In terms of stats, Thievul has a stat line of 70 in HP, 58 attack, 58 defense, 87 special attack, 92 special defense, and 90 in speed. These stats aren't very impressive on paper, as none of them even break 100. Now one big interesting thing to note about Generation 8, however, is we have the ability to Dynamax any Pokemon now, and every move gets a pretty significant buff when Dynamaxed. This mechanic alone can be enough to save some Pokemon and could even make Thievul a bit better. Now moving on to the positives, first you have two good abilities in Stakeout and Unburden. Unfortunately Runaway is useless competitively, but at least you have two other abilities to fall back on. Unburden can be great if you Dynamax in the Psychic Terrain and have a Psychic Seed, which will easily be able to consume your Psychic Seed since a Dynamax Psychic will summon Psychic Terrain. And Stakeout is just a fantastic ability to catch your opponent switching. Thievul also has some nice utility options. You have Snarl, you have U-Turn, you have Knockoff, you have Taunt, and overall it's pretty decent when it comes to utility. You also have that mono dark typing, meaning there's no type in the game that is immune to you. Unfortunately, you don't have Pursuit, which is one of the better dark type moves, as Pursuit is not in Sword and Shield. And like we mentioned earlier for the final positive, Thievul can be a pretty decent Dynamax option for your team if you build your team around it. I still think it's better to have a different Dynamax Pokemon on your team as an option, but if you really want to build it around Thievul being the Dynamax, you can do it. And now on to the negatives. For the first negative, Thievul has some pretty low defenses, meaning you're not going to be able to take a lot of hits, and you definitely have to be careful when you send this out against a stronger offensive threat. Speaking of offenses though, you also have some mediocre offenses. None of your offenses break 100, in fact none of your stats break 100, and your highest attack stat is only 87 in special attack, which isn't exactly the best. Now you do have Nasty Plot to boost that, but this is still a very mediocre attack stat. Your speed is also pretty mediocre, being capped at 90. It is still somewhat usable, but it's just a little bit too slow, and when you combine it with having low bulk, it means you're going to get outsped a lot and just killed by a lot of things. And for the final negative, you are very reliant on either your ability or having your Dynamax move to further help your ability. What I mean by this is unless you're getting your Unburden up, or unless you have your attack boost from Stakeout, you're really not doing anything with this Pokemon. And now for some Thievul sets you can use. First we have this Unburden set I've been trying for a little while, which is Thievul with the new item Throat Spray, max special attack, max speed, modest nature, could be timid as well, Dark Pulse, Psychic, Snarl, and U-Turn for the moveset. Now Throat Spray, what this does is it's consumed once the user goes for a sound based move and increases the special attack by 1 stage. Since we have the move Snarl, it is a sound based move, it basically makes it so Snarl will increase your speed and special attack while lowering your target special attack by 1. This is actually pretty good, and you can even Dynamax this set to give it the Psychic Seed instead of Throat Spray, so that way you can still get the Unburden that way. However, I think I still prefer the non-Dynamax version, so another member of your team can be Dynamax instead. Luckily, Thievul also has access to the ability Stakeout, which is a pretty strong ability that not very many Pokemon at all get. This ability doubles your attacking stat against a target that was switched in this turn by your opponent, which can really punish a lot of switch-ins on your opponent. Unfortunately, we don't have the move Pursuit anymore, as that move is not in Sword and Shield to punish switch-ins even harder, and although the ability can be rather situational, it can still come up. If you really want to use a stakeout set, here's a set that's actually pretty similar to a Gumshoos you would have seen in Sun and Moon, which is Thievul with the Choice Band, stakeout ability, max attack, max speed, jolly nature, U-turn, knockoff, Ice Fang, and play rough with the Choice Band. I don't really like this set that much, not nearly as much as the first set. However, if you really want to use it, it can be an option for your team, and maybe somebody else will have better luck with a stakeout set than I did. And now going into the ratings, in terms of offense, I'm going to give Thievul a 2 out of 5. Thievul only has 58 attack and 87 special attack, which just isn't very good, and it's not going to do very much damage. It does have stakeouts to help boost its offenses a little bit, but overall Thievul is just a below average offensive Pokemon, even amongst the newer Pokemon alone. There's plenty of better offensive type dark types if you really want to use them, such as Liepard, which coincidentally also gets Unburdened, or even Weavile, which is very good this generation. For defense, I'm going to have to give Thievul a 1 out of 5. Thievul has some very poor defenses, and being a dark type and being weak to U-turn really isn't that great, especially with U-turn being so common on a lot of different Pokemon, and the fact that U-turn really isn't a move designed to do damage, it's more for utility, and it can easily do over 50% of this Pokemon. Thievul won't be able to take very many hits at all, and there's really no reason to run a defensive version of this Pokemon at all, and you'd be lucky to take more than 2 hits from just about anything that isn't resisted. The biggest redeeming factor of its defense, I would say, would be its psychic immunity, but even at that, it's not enough to help it. For versatility, I'm going to give Thievul a 2.5 out of 5. Thievul luckily has some degree of versatility to it, thanks to its useful abilities that function pretty differently from one another. Unburden alone provides good versatility since it can be used in combination with the Throat Spray item and without Dynamaxing, or with a Terrain Seed or some other item if you really want to go for the Dynamax route option and the Dynamax moves. It also has Stakeout, which can be used and is a very good ability, giving it at least 2 different sets to run. For move pool, I'm going to give Thievul a 2.5 out of 5 as well. Thievul's move pool isn't exactly terrible, but it isn't exactly good either. It gets the job done and has some nice coverage options floating around on the physical and special side, as well as access to Parting Shot or U-turn for more momentum. You could even set up with this Pokemon with a nice spot or agility if you really wanted to, which combined with Unburden might actually be able to do something if you're able to boost your speed. And for viability, I will give Thievul a 2 out of 5. When I first picked Thievul to be the very first Pokemon in the worst Pokemon series for Generation 8, I thought it would be much worse than it actually was just looking at its stats alone. After using it for a little bit, I have to admit it's actually a little bit better than I thought. It still isn't a great Pokemon by any means, nor is it even good, but it isn't completely useless either. Sure, it does get outclassed by other Pokemon, especially Liepard, but I can still see Thievul being somewhat viable in the lower tiers, even if that's just the NU tier or lower. Seeing as Sword and Shield have only about 400 total Pokemon, it is possible that we could see this Pokemon settle in just the NU tier due to the lack of Pokemon. I don't really see Thievul having much of a place in VGC at all, however, but maybe that can change once we get a proper rule set for VGC, as at the time that I'm recording this video, there is no official VGC rule set for Sword and Shield right now. As for team members to pair with your Thievul, I definitely recommend pairing it with some Volt turning Pokemon, and of course a Fighting Resist or Immunity. One Pokemon that fits both of these things is one of the best Pokemon in Generation 8 in my opinion, Dragapult, being a Fighting Immunity, being part Ghost type, and having access to U-turn with that base 142 speed, which can be nice with Thievul. I would also recommend running some sort of slow Volt Turn or U-turn or Baton Passer, maybe something like Umbreon to take a hit and go into Thievul, although the downside of Umbreon is you can have double Dark types, so maybe that's not the best option. And that is Thievul. Is Thievul the worst new Pokemon in Sword and Shield? Let me know what you guys think about Thievul in the comment section down below. Personally, I think there are some worse new Pokemon out there, but Thievul is definitely still in the bottom half of Pokemon from Generation 8 in my opinion. Let me know which Pokemon you guys want to see featured in the next worst Pokemon video for Sword and Shield. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you all next time, and bye-bye.